Imagine the terror of a peaceful night shattered by the sound of gunfire and chaos. Suddenly, tranquility gives way to fear as homes become battlegrounds and familiar faces become victims. This isn't a scene from a blockbuster movie. It's a real-life narrative from Nigeria. A night etched in the memory of its people. A night of horror that would forever alter countless lives. In the heart of this chaos was a group, their faces masked by darkness and their hearts filled with a dangerous ideology. They stormed the town, their guns echoing the terrifying anthem of their intent. Their actions a stark testament to their disregard for human life. The people of Nigeria, their lives disrupted in the most brutal way, are the victims of this terrifying incident. Their stories, their experiences, their losses, all paint a chilling picture of the human impact of a group that has been a bane to their existence. The group, driven by an ideology as complex as it is destructive, has left a trail of devastation in its wake. This is just one of many incidents orchestrated by a group known as Boko Haram. Who is Boko Haram, and where did they come from? Let's journey back to the turn of the 21st century, in the northeastern corner of Nigeria. This is where Boko Haram, which loosely translates to "Western education is forbidden," first took root. Founded by Muhammad Yusuf in 2002, Boko Haram started as a local religious group. Yusuf, a charismatic cleric, sought to establish a pure Islamic state ruled by Sharia law, rejecting Western influences he believed were corrupting Nigerian society. The group began as a peaceful community, creating a complex which included a mosque and an Islamic school. Many of the initial followers were drawn to Yusuf's teachings, which offered an alternative to the government they felt had failed them. However, the path from local religious group to violent extremist organization was not a sudden one. It was a process influenced by a host of factors. The first of these factors was growing economic disparity. Nigeria's oil-rich south was prospering, while the predominantly Muslim north was mired in poverty. This poverty, coupled with widespread corruption and a lack of faith in the government, created a fertile breeding ground for discontent. The second factor was the rising influence of radical Islamic ideologies from outside Nigeria. As these ideas spread, they found a receptive audience in Boko Haram's leadership. The pivotal turning point, however, came in 2009. A confrontation with the Nigerian military led to the death of Yusuf while in police custody. His death sparked a transformation in the group, with Boko Haram turning to violence in retaliation. Under the leadership of Abubakar Shekau, Yusuf's successor, Boko Haram adopted a far more radical ideology. The group began launching attacks, targeting not only the state, but also civilians, and rapidly gained international notoriety. Thus, what began as a local religious group evolved into a name synonymous with terror. But what drives Boko Haram to commit such atrocities? A question often asked, yet seldom understood. The answer lies in the group's ideology and purpose, deeply rooted in their interpretation of Islam and their political objectives. The name Boko Haram itself is a clue to understanding their ideology. Translated from the Hausa language, it roughly means Western education is forbidden. This reflects their belief that Western influences have corrupted Muslims and led them away from the true path of Islam. They view the secular education system, and indeed the secular state itself, as a product of these corrupting influences. This fundamentalist group interprets Islam through a lens of extremism, advocating for a strict adherence to Sharia law. They believe in the establishment of an Islamic state in Nigeria where they can enforce their version of Sharia law, free from what they perceive as Western contamination. Yet, their ideology goes beyond the rejection of Western education and the pursuit of an Islamic state. Boko Haram also believes in violent jihad, a holy war against those who oppose their views. They see violence and terror as legitimate tools to achieve their goals, justifying their actions as a religious duty. Their belief in violent jihad is not just about fighting perceived enemies. It's also about instilling fear, creating chaos, and destabilizing the state to pave the way for their desired Islamic rule. Their tactics include bombings, assassinations, and kidnappings, targeting not only security forces but also civilians, including children. Boko Haram's ideology and purpose are not just about religion or politics. They're about a distorted worldview where violence is sanctified, education is demonized, and fear is a tool for control. This toxic mix of beliefs has cultivated a culture of violence and terror that has claimed thousands of lives and displaced millions. Their violent interpretation of Islam and political ambitions have led to countless tragedies. And as we delve deeper into the story of Boko Haram, we begin to see the complex interplay of ideology, politics, and violence that fuels this deadly group. How does the Nigerian state respond to the threat of Boko Haram? This is a question that has been on the minds of many, both within Nigeria and around the world. In response to Boko Haram's reign of terror, the Nigerian state has taken a multifaceted approach. The most direct method has been through military operations. The Nigerian military, in collaboration with multinational forces, has been engaging in intense combat against Boko Haram. These operations have aimed at dislodging the group from its strongholds and rescuing captives, among other objectives. But while the use of force may be necessary, it is not sufficient. The Nigerian state recognizes this, and so it has also turned to negotiations. Efforts have been made to engage with Boko Haram diplomatically in hopes of reaching a peaceful resolution to the conflict. These negotiations have not been without controversy or difficulty, but they represent an important part of the overall strategy. In addition to military operations and negotiations, the Nigerian state is also working to address the underlying social issues that contribute to the rise and persistence of Boko Haram. This includes efforts to combat poverty, improve education, and promote economic development. The idea here is that by improving the overall quality of life, fewer individuals will be drawn to extremist groups like Boko Haram. But these efforts have faced numerous challenges. Corruption, lack of resources, and the sheer scale of the problem are all significant obstacles. Moreover, the fluid and elusive nature of Boko Haram itself makes it a particularly difficult foe to combat. The international community too has been involved in the fight against Boko Haram. Various countries and organizations have provided aid, resources, and even troops to assist Nigeria. But despite these efforts, the situation remains complex and volatile. Despite numerous efforts, the fight against Boko Haram continues to this day. This statement is a sobering reminder of the ongoing struggle, but it also underscores the determination of the Nigerian state and the international community to combat this threat and work towards a more peaceful future. So, where does Boko Haram stand today? In a world that rapidly evolves, Boko Haram has also been subject to significant changes. Its trajectory in recent years has been marked by a series of transformations. The group's leadership, once stable under the rule of Abubakar Shekau, has been punctuated with internal conflicts and shifts. This flux has, in turn, influenced the group's operational strategies and the nature of its threats. Boko Haram's activities have not ceased, but have rather evolved and adapted to the changing environments. The group continues to carry out attacks, predominantly in northeastern Nigeria, but its reach extends across borders into neighboring countries of Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. These actions are not just military assaults anymore, but have increasingly taken the form of suicide bombings, kidnappings, and even complex coordinated attacks. The impact of Boko Haram on Nigeria and its people remains profound and far-reaching. The group's insurgency has resulted in a dire humanitarian crisis, with millions displaced from their homes and countless lives lost. The economic ramifications are equally severe, with the northeast region of Nigeria in particular suffering from significant setbacks. The group's influence is not confined to the tangible devastation it wreaks. Boko Haram has also left an indelible mark on the psyche of the Nigerian populace. The fear and uncertainty bred by its actions have permeated deep into the societal fabric, creating a climate of anxiety and mistrust. Yet, amidst this grim narrative, there are glimmers of resilience. The Nigerian government, with international support, continues to battle the group militarily. Civil society organizations and local communities are also working tirelessly to alleviate the humanitarian crisis and rebuild lives shattered by Boko Haram's violence. Boko Haram remains a potent force, its legacy a grim reminder of the destructive power of extremist ideologies. However, the story is not over, and the collective efforts to combat this menace continue unabated. The fight against Boko Haram is not just about restoring peace and security, but also about reclaiming the narrative from the clutches of extremism and charting a path towards a more hopeful future. From a local religious group to a symbol of terror, Boko Haram's journey is a stark warning. Its transformation from an Islamic sect rooted in Nigeria to a globally recognized terrorist organization is a chilling testament to the power of extreme ideologies. The group's purpose, driven by a distorted interpretation of Islam, has led to a destructive path that threatens the security and stability of not just Nigeria, but the entire region. Boko Haram's interactions with the state have been nothing short of cataclysmic. Its insidious influence has penetrated deep within Nigeria's political and security apparatus, exacerbating social tensions and undermining the state's authority. Fast forward to today, Boko Haram continues to cast a long, ominous shadow. Its presence, while diminished, remains a potent threat. The human toll of its reign of terror is immeasurable, with countless lives disrupted, dreams shattered, and futures uncertain. As we continue to grapple with the threat of Boko Haram, we must remember the countless victims and strive to prevent such atrocities in the future.